I truly believe this is one of the most important books of our time, and if you have not picked it up yet, please pick it up. We are back for another Christian review of regular books, and today we are discussing Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. For those of you who haven't seen one of these videos before, here's how it's gonna go down. First, I do my regular review, what you know and love to expect from a book review, star rating, my own personal opinion, and what the book is about, all without spoiling it. But then I get into my Christian review, and that's where I go over the basic pieces of a book that may or may not have a fellow believer or, frankly, anyone wanting to read it. At the end, I also give an age range. If you want more information about these Christian reviews, you can check out the video that's pinned to the top of our playlist, or you can click here somewhere. However, if you are still here, let's go ahead and get into my regular review. I'm gonna be real honest, this book completely rocked me when I read it. It's been over a year since I read it, and it still rocks me to my core. It is considered a historical fiction, but it is loosely based off of two girls in Montgomery, Alabama in the 1970s. This story explores the forced sterilization and tubal ligations that were happening without children and women's rights or will, desire, they did not want it, throughout the time in our own US history. When I started reading this book and reading what it was about, my heart was so broken, and I truly had to go and do research because I was unbelievably just blindsided by the fact that this was happening in our recent history. When I went and read it, it is about two girls that actually had this happen to them, that they were forced sterilized. However, what history taught me and what I realized is that this wasn't just happening in the 1970s. This actually started from the 1920s all the way up to the 1970s and even until today. The last known story we have of forced sterilizations was in 2016, that a whistleblower came out and said that this was happening in prisons and detention centers in the United States because of the color of their skin. It is inherent and obvious, blatant racism that was happening not that long ago, that could still be happening for all we know. And this book really opened my eyes to the fact that this is happening in our own country. It is a critical book. Now, why this book is fiction and not just straight history, because although it does start by talking about the two girls, that the case was over in the 1970s, what follows afterwards is not necessarily what happened in the court case itself. There was a court case. It is how this whole thing came out in the first place in the 1970s, and they did something about it. But there's a lot more complication to the actual history of our country and how these things were going on than is told in this book. Additionally, when I looked it up, this wasn't just happening with Black women, but it actually was happening disproportionately with Hispanic women. Specifically, Puerto Rican women was the highest number of these. And they were taking advantage of women or kids who didn't know what they were signing because they were either too young or didn't speak English. It is unimaginable that someone would treat someone this way, and it isn't even that far gone. This book was a 5-star read for me. If you took out all the history, everything that I learned, everything that I think every single person should learn, the writing itself is a 5-star read. It was so beautifully done. But add to that the fact that this is important to know, to not put our heads in the sand, to not ignore these facts. This book is a 5-star must read. Please put it on your list. If you haven't yet, please do it now. And I will tell you that it is worth every single page that you read. If you want to see everything that I'm reading and rating in real time, you can do so by following me on Goodreads. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and I do have my own YouTube channel. So if you want to see more of my day in the life and reading journey, click the links down below in the description box. Let's go ahead and get into my Christian review. The first category I always love to touch on is smut or spice, and no, there is nothing in this book that is either of those things. The second category is explicit language, and although there is some name calling about women who are of a different ethnicity, there is no major explicit language you need to manage. And finally, the violence and gore, only because we're discussing like forced tubal ligations, there really isn't any. Although this book doesn't have anything in it that is, specifically don't let a kid read it, I will also say that the content discussed around reproductive rights and reproductive freedoms is a mature topic. So I think this is best for anyone aged 13 and up. And what I will say is I think this is one of those books that you should read alongside your teen. If you think your teen would enjoy it or your teen wants to read it, let the teen read it with them, and then talk about it. Because these are things that we really need to be knowing and dealing with that happened in our history, and again, not so distant history either. Before you go, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date on all of these Christian reviews of regular books, plus me and my mom's podcast, The Journey We Share. On top of keeping you up to date, it helps us know that the content we're providing is content you want to keep seeing. And since we're a nonprofit, it's basically like a free way for you to donate without ever having to open up your wallet. So again, before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and maybe even comment. And we cannot wait until we see you on the next one.